is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
And welcome to Houston Newsmakers and our discussion this morning with the mayors of the city of Houston and Sugar Land, Mayor Sylvester Turner and Mayor Joe Zimmerman. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for taking your time and share with us this morning. A lot has happened into both of your cities and our community going forward since COVID-19 has been a part of what's going on. You two have been talking about some needs that your cities have and maybe some common areas of concern. Mayor Zimmerman, let me ask you first, with Houston being a much bigger city, what areas of mutual concern do you have with the city of Houston as far as Sugar Land is concerned?
Well, I think both of us share the fact that we have, COVID-19 has changed the way that we operate, both as a city and the way that our cities operate. And we talk pretty much every week about things that are in common. Things are in common in transportation, in our parks. How do we get our businesses back up and running? COVID-19 is going to be with us. We know it's not going away, and we just need to learn how to live with it.
Mayor Turner, I know budgets have to be a common issue as well. You've announced furloughs, tapping into a rainy day fund to try to ease what is a looming deficit. This is nothing that other cities around the country aren't dealing with as well. What kind of advice have you been able to offer on that front, or is it an apples and oranges comparison in terms of your respective budgets?
In fact, Cambrell, what we're facing in Houston is not unique. I think Mayor Zimmerman will tell you, facing in the Sugar Land, almost every city in the country is facing the same thing. We're dealing with not just a healthcare challenge, but an economic challenge. And now, as we move forward, we're having to learn how to manage this virus in such a way that we can reduce our healthcare challenge and reduce the impact on our economy as well. And so that's why, whether you live in Sugar Land, Houston, vice versa, we're all interconnected, and we try to work together in concert so that we can overcome the coronavirus, or at least manage it, so that we can start to open up in a very phased and measured and safe way.
I noticed that the moratorium on evictions is up starting next week. That's got to be a real big concern. I know there's more rental issues in Houston than there is in Sugar Land, but we just saw that money that was available for the city, Mayor, it went very quickly. Baker Ripley money that was being given out. There's going to be a lot of pain for a lot of people. What kind of hope do you try to give them as they look forward to trying to come out on the good side?
Well, I think what people are looking for is just a safety net as we start to open up and people can return back to their workforce and their jobs and start making money for themselves and for their families. Well, we saw $15 million in rental assistance went in 90 minutes. Hopefully, Congress will look at appropriating an additional amount for rental assistance, and not just for renters, but people who own their homes and who have mortgages. But that's why it's so important that we manage the virus as best as possible, so that the economy can start to open up and people can return back to their jobs and their businesses.
Both of you have done a good job in terms of communicating. I know that Mayor Turner, you have news conferences on a regular basis we cover live, and Mayor Zimmerman, you're also on the city websites getting information out there as well. What are you telling the community in Sugar Land about the kinds of budget? Are they going to be able to see some budget cuts going forward here to kind of balance things out? Everybody's got some restrictions they have to put into place.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Campbell. We will, similar to Mayor Turner, we will have a budget shortfall from sales and use tax. So we'll have to deal with that impact. And we're doing that right now. Our fiscal years are a little bit different. Our city manager is preparing our budget. He delivers that in July. Then we'll take up reviewing that in August with actually accepting a budget sometime in September. But we're all dealing with the effects of that. What can we do locally? I know we've suspended hirings. We will probably have some projects that get pushed. Certainly we're now, both Mayor Turner and I both are preparing for hurricane season. It's very real. I know we've got a system coming in this weekend. So we're trying to balance the needs of what we'll need in case we have an active hurricane season with the shortfalls that we deal with right now, and trying to make sure that our folks are safe. We're responding, as the mayor said, we're responding reasonably to a phased opening so that Sugar Land residents and Houston residents can get used to coming back into the restaurants, coming back into the businesses, but doing that safely.
You know, one thing I think both of you have in common is the more testings being made available in both of your communities going on, and it seems to follow the guidelines for the medical experts for trying to get a handle on this disease and to get back to normal, or for what will pass as normal in our post-COVID-19 world. What role has the increase in testing played in any concerns you have? I'll talk with you, Mayor Turner, first. Any concerns you have with the reopening of this economy? As the testing increases, that give you a little bit more sense of security and knowing that it's being done in the right way?
Yeah, absolutely. The increased testing along with the contact tracing will really help us to see the eyes on where this virus is and how pervasive it is in our community. The contact tracing will help us to go and trace, quarantine, isolate, treat, and that's the infrastructure. And when the infrastructure for that is put in place, it provides an added comfort level on when people are returning back and to their jobs or moving around in the city of Houston. Look, I'm not so much concerned about the number of positive cases that are reported, that we report on a daily basis, because we're doing more testing. As we're doing more testing, I expect those numbers to go up. What I am very much watching is the number, for example, people who are dying as a result of COVID-19, whether or not our healthcare delivery system has ample capacity to handle any case that comes through. And for right now, our healthcare delivery system is fine. As long as people continue to engage in social distancing, wear their face mask, and then we have the contact tracers in place, I think we're good. I will tell you quickly, we have the virtual employment program. We're seeking to hire 300 contact tracers. 3,000 people, roughly 3,000 people applied. So we'll start all of that, put all of that into effect. And as that moves forward, then that will give me a greater comfort level that we can manage. It's about managing this virus, that we can manage it as we go to through phase 1, into phase 2, and so on.
Mayor Zimmerman, I noticed that Fort Bend County was recently highlighted. The White House put them in, and the coronavirus task force said it's a community to watch. Any concerns about that in terms of the focus on our community or the Fort Bend community in that regard?
Well, Cambrell, it's much like Mayor Turner said. We know we're testing more now, so we know we're going to get more positive tests. I think the way that we need to look at the recoveries. We need to look at the number of deaths and the details in the deaths, the age and the underlying health conditions. The other thing that the mayor mentioned that I totally agree with is we know in Sugar Land and in the Houston region right now, we have the beds, we have the capacity to deal with not only a spike in COVID-19, certainly with opening back up the economy, we will expect a spike in the number of positives. But we have the treatment capability across the region to be able to deal with that. That also means that we need to continue to watch the numbers to make sure that it doesn't sneak up on us, so to speak, to where we would have an issue with that capacity.
In a minute we have left here, Mayor Turner first. So what do you look at? And you look at this whole process. What are you looking at now is the calls that you've made as a city going forward? What kinds of things stand out to you that you've made, those calls that have been good and they're positive for trying to deal with this virus? You know,
with Cambrell, we took action early. We start rescheduling things and even the orders as relates to suspending service, dining room service at our restaurants, the stay-home orders. But we didn't do it unilaterally. We did it collectively because whether you live in the city of Houston or live in Sugar Land, our residents go from one area to another. So the region as a whole came together. We worked collaboratively together. And as a result, when you take our region as a whole and compare it to other regions in other parts of the country, our numbers are relatively good. And so it's that partnership that has worked, and it's that same degree of partnership working together that's going to help to propel us forward. So that's what I'm very pleased with. I'm excited by the fact that we worked as a team, and as a result, the numbers are reflective of that teamwork.
And that's going to have to be the last word, I'm afraid. Mayor Zimmerman, thank you so much, and thank you for your conversations you guys continue to have. I know that you're all working to keep this whole region safe. Thank you for what you do on behalf of all of our citizens. We appreciate it.
Cambrell, Mayor Turner, all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Appreciate you so much.